Hello everyone, my name is Andrew Lefferts. This is my submission for the video project for WMUS303. So let's get started without further ado. Over the past 8 weeks, I can't even begin to really explain how much I've kind of learned about worship leading. In my capacity, just a little bit about me. I've been a follower of Christ for about 4 years now. 3 of those years I've spent serving on our church's worship team down here. We're based in South Florida. And within the past 6 months or so, I've been tasked with leading our student ministry's worship band. So on Wednesday nights, we have our student ministry meet. It consists of middle school and high school students. And my role there is to lead the band. The band is completely student-led. We don't have any adults leading the band. It's all students on stage. So with that said, that level of leadership kind of needs to be there for them. So this course has really helped me a lot. And in that process of leading the student ministry, I've kind of been shadowing our main church's worship leader, our worship pastor, and he's kind of been giving me tasks to kind of help me build more leadership skills as well. And this course has really helped with that, especially when it comes to instrumental, the instrumental ministry, the actual music ministry, as opposed to simply I feel like a lot of people consider worship leaders to be the main person singing or the worship pastor. They consider them worship leaders, and then we have a worship band. And this course, literally the first week we had to read chapter 1 of the instrumental resource, and it says, the first page of chapter 1, it says, the instrumentalist is involved in creating an atmosphere that draws the individual and corporate body to a realization of Christ's presence. And for me, that statement struck out to me because it really emphasized the fact that the band members and the instrumentalists are worship leaders themselves. A lot of times, like I said, the band gets overlooked, and we're not doing it to have any kind of notoriety, but I feel like we kind of get in the mindset of we're not leading, we're just kind of supplementing. And this whole course has really shown me that it's quite the opposite. We're leading just as much, because really all it takes is one person to see us leading, and it could inspire them to either start serving and hopefully be saved. That's the ultimate goal for all of this, is to bring more followers to Jesus Christ. So like I said, I learned a ton over this course, but the things that really struck out to me were, the book The Art of Worship by Greg Shear was extremely beneficial. And I found a few things to really stick out. The first was in chapter 2. The title of the chapter is called Assembling the Team. The topic of the application process and the interview process for getting new volunteers, I had never thought about that before. Usually prior to this course, when it came to recruitment, it was literally just us in the lobby with a sign-up sheet. And that was it. Anybody who had interest, we would follow up with them to see if they were, serious about it. And if they were, they would come, with their instrument and somewhat do an audition to a point. We would basically just have, we have one song that we would have those instrumentalists learn. And, if they learned it to a point where we were satisfied, we would invite them to shadow with us for a weekend. And, then they would start serving. But in chapter 2, Greg Shear goes into this detail of an actual application process. And in that, there's a huge benefit I found, in reading that, because it really lets you kind of lay the groundwork as far as what you're expecting, as opposed to just kind of, oh, here's a sign-up sheet, we'll get back to you. The audition process itself, the interview process, is another thing. You have this rundown of questions that you can ask, and you really can develop, a sense of where that person's at in not only their musical journey, but their spiritual journey, who they actually are, as opposed to, okay, you signed up, come meet us on, whatever day and show us how to play this song, and then, you'll start serving with us. It really gives you more of a backstory of that person, and I really like that. The other thing that really was extremely beneficial for me was found in chapter 7 of the Art of Worship book. Greg Shear talks about rehearsing and leading. And, like I said, I lead our student ministries band, so I'm leading rehearsals every single week. Every Monday night we have rehearsal, and, it takes a lot to lead middle school and high schoolers through a rehearsal, but somehow you get through it. But this really kind of helped me develop. I'm already kind of working on things that I learned in this chapter to help me be better prepared to lead those rehearsals effectively, because ultimately, if I'm not prepared, I'm doing a disservice to everybody who I'm leading. So in that chapter, in chapter 7, the author talks about preparing for rehearsal, and it goes through long-term planning, where you're not just, unfortunately, I feel like, I'm guilty of it, I'm sure, but we get in this habit of kind of doing everything week by week. We plan things week by week. We might have a series plan, for a month from now, but the services themselves kind of are a week by week thing. And in chapter 7, Greg Shear talks about long-term planning 1 to 6 months before the service. So just mapping out where you're going to be 1 to 6 months from now, and it lets more ideas take shape. It gives you more time to practice. If you want to introduce a new song, you have all this time to really, hammer it out and get it done. It allows for a lot of things. Talks about scheduling musicians 1 to 3 months in advance. That's another thing. This week by week mindset. It also goes with scheduling. Unfortunately, I can't tell you how many times I've been asked to play 2 days before service, and that's a big commitment, and again, you're kind of doing people a disservice when you're leaving them last minute. Hey, can you play tomorrow? Well, yeah, you can play tomorrow, but that person's probably not going to be as prepared if they had 1, 2 or 3 months to prepare for that service. Obviously things happen, and sometimes people need to be scheduled that late because of an emergency, and that's one thing. But if it's every single week we're scheduling people a couple days before service, then we're doing a disservice to the team and the congregation, because we're really not giving them the best that we can. The other thing that really benefited me in this course was actually sitting through the 3 different rehearsals that we did for our rehearsal observations. I sat through a orchestral rehearsal, a choir rehearsal, and then a praise team rehearsal, and every single one, there were similarities, but they were all very different from each other as well. And that really helped me kind of figure out how I want to lead a rehearsal and just a team in general. Some rehearsals were more spiritual than the others. Some were, a lot more streamlined than others. It really was different, but it kind of let me see how things are done in different environments, because I've never been a part of a orchestra. I've never been a part of a choir, and I have been a part of a praise team, but not at the level as the church that I went to. So it was interesting to see the differences that there are, because there really are a ton of different leadership styles and rehearsal styles, and it just really helped me develop who I want to be as a leader, leading not only the student ministry, but hopefully later on down the line, I'm going to hopefully stay in ministry, and I can take these principles that I've learned over the course of these 8 weeks and use them for the rest of my life. So it was a huge benefit, and I can't wait to see how this impacts, not just me, but everybody else who took this course. I think by having the mindset of planning and preparation and just all these principles set before us over the past 8 weeks, I really think we can just kind of pave the way for a generation that worships genuinely and in a very professional manner. Thank you. Bye-bye.